All right, thank you. First case in Orange County is 2014 CT 11987, State versus Angel Castro Muriel.
Thank you.
Madam Interpreter, if you'll let me know when you have a connection?
Sí.
He can hear the interpreter, Your Honor.
She's just getting his headphones situated.
The mic have to be on. Yeah, he talking to the black mic.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name?
Ángel Castro.
Angel Castro?
All right, Mr. Castro, you are here on a violation of probation on an underlying charge of DUI. The alleged violations are failure to make a report to your probation officer, failure to keep an appointment with your probation officer, failure to pay costs of supervision, failure to complete a DUI counterattack school, and failure to complete a victim awareness program. You have the right to remain silent. You've got the right to counsel. Would you like for me to appoint the public defender to represent you?
No, ya me consiguieron uno.
No, they already got me one.
All right, thank you. Then the VOP warrant is no bond per the issuing magistrate. You'll be held no bond for transport to, let's see, was this Orange County? The warrant is out of Orange County, so any issues with respect to bond will be determined by the judge in that division. Defense, has the PD already been appointed?
No, Judge,
Judge, I'm not sure.
it's a violation of probation, so that PD, so he need a new one for the VOP.
Generally, we don't get appointed right after a VOP. But if Your Honor would like to appoint our office, I don't know if you
No.
filled out an affidavit.
I don't, not necessary for today's purposes.
But for the, here, we don't have anyone to do fill out the PD form. So on the weekend, usually they will go ahead and appoint it by the court. But he violated the probation. He had a PD at the beginning of the thing, but once he was done, so now he got a VOP, so he was,
When's his VOP arraignment?
going judge, he'd see Judge Van the 25th, so.
All right, then I will appoint the PD's office for today's purposes. Defense wish to be heard? It's no bond warrant. I don't know that there's anything to do.
And Judge, I understand that he's not entitled to a bond. He does have very minimal history, so we would ask to set a low bond on this.
Court will decline to set bond. Bond can be addressed by the judge in that division.
Pero, okay,
That concludes your hearing. Thank you, sir.
okay.
Next case is State versus Orban Sanchez.
Corbin Sanchez?
Afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name for me?
Orbin Sanchez.
Corbin Sanchez.
All right, thank you. You are here for a first appearance today on a charge of aggravated battery with a motor vehicle, domestic violence battery, and criminal mischief. You've got the right to remain silent, and you've got the right to counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender to represent you?
Yes. See,
Sí.
Yes.
All right, court will appoint the public defender to represent the defendant. Any issues with PC defense?
No, Judge.
All right, and there is a witness in the box. Ma'am, if you'd raise your right
I'm
hand
his
to be
wife.
sworn.
right?
Do you speak
Again?
English?
Huh?
Do you speak English?
Yes,
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony shall give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
State your name for the record.
My name's Sita Amago.
All right, ma'am, you're entitled to be heard in this matter, especially what the court is considering is whether to set bond in the case and what conditions to impose on Mr. Sanchez for the purposes of his release. What would you like me to know in determining those issues?
Okay, no, he didn't harm me at all. He harmed the car, but he didn't touch me. He didn't put a finger on me. And the ambulance came and they wanted to take me to the hospital if I wanted to. And I'm like, I'm perfect. There's nothing wrong with me.
You are married to the defendant?
What is it?
You are married to the defendant?
Yes,
You reside together?
yes,
How long have you resided together?
7 years.
Do you have any fear for your safety if Mr. Sanchez was to return to your shared residence?
No, you can come, no problem. I'm not afraid of him. He didn't harm me.
State or defense have any questions of Ms. Amago?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
All right, defense, as to bond?
A judge would ask to set a low bond on the first 2 counts. Mr. Sanchez does have minimal history. I'm showing that he only has 2 misdemeanor convictions. So again, Judge, we'd ask for a low bond be set on count 1 and 2. And Judge, we'd also like to add, we'd be asking for no hostile contact based on the alleged victim's testimony here today.
Court will set bond with respect to count 1 in the amount of $5,000, count 2, $250, and count 3, $100. Court will further order no hostile contact.
What does that mean, no hostile contact?
No hostile contact with you, Ms. Amago, and that means that he is permitted to have contact with you. He's permitted to return to the shared residence, but he is prohibited from harming you or
okay.
committing any act of violence against you. If he violates that order, then he'll be picked up again for violating the terms and conditions
Okay.
of his pretrial release.
All right, thank you.
All right, anything further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Defense?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, thank you. That concludes your hearing, sir.
Yeah, I see he looks over here. Yeah, 1 second. He didn't hear.
Next case is Maria Ingles Rodriguez Matos.
Marigelis Rodriguez Matos.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state your name?
Maria Angeli Rodriguez.
Mariangeli Rodriguez.
All right, Ms. Rodriguez Matos, you've been charged with a single count of domestic violence battery. You've got the right to remain silent and the right to counsel. Would you like for me to appoint counsel to represent you in this matter?
Sí, por favor.
All right.
Yes,
court-
please.
Court will appoint the public defender to represent Ms. Matos, Rodriguez Matos. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit and find probable cause for the offense alleged. State or defense wish to be heard as to bond.
Yes, Judge, it looks like Ms. Rodriguez does qualify for pretrial release, so we'd be asking to release her on PTR.
State, have you had any input from the alleged victim?
Not to my knowledge, Your Honor, we have not.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Not to my knowledge, Your Honor, we have not.
Does Ms. Rodriguez Matos reside with Mr. Santiago?
Él vive en mi casa.
He lives in my house.
All right, defense, any objection to pretrial release?
No objection, Your Honor.
Court will release Ms. Rodriguez Matos on pretrial release. She'll be ordered to have no hostile contact with Mr. Santiago.
Tengo una pregunta.
I do have a question.
You probably want to ask your lawyer that question rather than me, and if it's a question that I can answer, he can ask me.
Okay.
Counsel, do you want the interpreter? Do you want her to try to tell you in English?
We'll try.
How about this? We've determined what we need to do today, and I think you'll have the opportunity, Ms. Rodriguez Matos, to talk to your lawyer after. Okay?
We'll have someone from our
Pero no
office.
puedo hablar con él. Ahora mismo hacer la pregunta.
So I cannot ask that question right now, right this minute?
Well, you don't, ordinarily, your public defender would have an interpreter that can interpret as between you and the interpreter. Right now, anything you say in Spanish is being broadcast over the courtroom audio, so that creates a problem as far as the relationship between you and your lawyer. That problem won't exist if you just ask your question a little bit later, okay?
Okay.
Ms. Rodriguez, your attorney will be
Okay.
in touch with you very shortly, okay?
All right, thank you, ma'am. That concludes your hearing.
Okay. Está bien.
Okay, that's fine.
Next case is State versus Antonio Morales Mateo. Good afternoon, sir. You are here for a first appearance on charges of possession of cocaine, possession of drug paraphernalia, and resisting a law enforcement officer without violence. You have the right to remain silent, and you also have the right to counsel. Would you like for me to appoint the public defender to represent you for the purposes of today's hearing?
Yes,
Court will appoint the public defender to represent Mr. Morales Mateo. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit, find there's probable cause with respect to the offenses alleged. Does the defense wish to be heard as to bond?
Judge, we would just ask that you set a reasonable bond on this case.
State wish to be heard?
No objection to that, Your Honor.
Court will set bond as to count one in the amount of $750, count two, $250, and count one, $100.
You reducing the bond? You have bond?
Yes.
So you raising it on, you said 750, I'm sorry.
750, 250, 100. All
So you raised it on.
right, anything further on the case?
Nothing further from defense, Judge.
All right, thank you, sir. All right. This is State versus Diaz Romero, 2021 CT 5249. Sir, could you please state your name for me?
Hilario Díaz Romero.
Hilario Diaz Romero.
Mr. Romero, you've got the right to remain silent. You've got the right to counsel. Would you like for me to appoint the public defender to represent you?
Sí.
Yes.
Court will appoint the public defender to represent Mr. Diaz Romero with respect to 5249 and 2021 CT 5251. Mr. Diaz Romero, you're here on two cases. In the first, there is a charge of driving under the influence. In the second case, 2021 5251, count one is driving with no valid driver's license. I've reviewed the charging affidavits in each case and find that there is probable cause for the offenses alleged. Defense wish to be heard as to bond.
Yes, Judge, Mr. Diaz Romero does have minimal history. We would ask to set bond on the first case at 100 and then on the second case at 100 also.
State wish to be heard.
We'll leave it in your discretion, Your Honor.
Court will set bond with respect to each charge in the amount of $100. Court will further order the defendant not to consume alcohol, drugs, or prescription medication without valid prescription during the term of his pretrial release. Anything further from the defense?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right. Thank you, sir. That concludes your hearing.
Let's put him on, but in pretrial release or just bond?
Not pretrial release. It's just an additional.
Wait, Your Honor, I'm sorry, did you say pretrial release? He
No.
doesn't qualify.
No, I did not say
Okay.
pretrial release.
So it's just gonna go to bond.
Next case is Miguel Domingo, 2021 CT 5252. Mr. Domingo, could you please state your full name for me?
Miguel Ángel Domingo Andrés,
Miguel Angel Domingo Andres.
correcto.
All right, you are here on a single charge of driving with no valid driver's license. You've got the right to remain silent. You've got the right to counsel. Would you like for me to appoint the public defender to represent you?
Sí.
Yes.
Court appoints the public defender to represent Mr. Domingo. Reviewed the arrest affidavit, find there's probable cause for the offense alleged. Defense wish to be heard as to bond.
Yes, Judge, Mr. Domingo, I'm showing has no convictions. I don't see that he was interviewed for pretrial release. I don't know if he,
He was interviewed, he didn't qualify.
Judge, given that he has no convictions and this is a no valid, we would ask just to ROR him.
Court, state wish to be heard.
We'll leave that in your discretion, Your Honor.
All right, court will release Mr. Domingo on his own recognizance.
Okay.
Anything further on the case?
Nothing, Judge.
All right, thank you. Next case is State versus Solano, 2021 MM 5114. Sir, could you,
Eduardo Solano Coto.
excellent, thank you very
Eduardo
much.
Solano Coto.
All right, Mr. Solano, you've the right to remain silent. You've got the right to counsel. You're here on three charges. Count one is battery. Count two, trespass after warning, and count three, disorderly intoxication. Would you like for me to appoint the public defender to represent you?
Por favor. Por favor.
Please.
All right, thank you. Court will appoint the public defender to represent Mr. Solano. I have reviewed the arrest affidavit and find there's probable cause for each of the offenses alleged. Defense wish to be heard as to bond.
Yes, Judge. I don't have his history in front of me, so assuming his history is minimal, we'd be asking for a low bond. And the alternative, a reasonable bond.
He qualifies for PTR?
Yes, he does, Your Honor.
All right, and his risk assessment result is below average.
Yes.
Court will release Mr. Solano on pretrial release. He'll to consume no alcohol during the term of his pretrial release. Anything further on the case?
No, Judge.
State?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Madam Interpreter, I think that is it for Spanish cases. Is that right? All right, then I'll disconnect. Thank you.
Your Honor, I do not recognize your voice. I'm so sorry.
Oh, Judge Alvaro, Alvaro.
Thank you so much. You have a great day, Your Honor.
Likewise. Before something bad happens. This is State versus Shields, 2021 MM 5105. Mr. Shields, could you please state your name for me?
John Cornelius Shields Jr.
All right, thank you, sir. You're here on a single charge of trespass after a warning. You've got the right to remain silent and the right to counsel. Would you like for me to appoint the public defender to represent you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, the court will appoint the public defender to represent Mr. Shields. I have reviewed the arrest affidavit and will find probable cause with respect to the charge. Defense wish to be heard as to bond?
Judge, not as to bond, but the state has extended an offer of an adjudication, court costs, and a no return. I have gone over the plea form with Mr. Shields, and he would like to resolve the case today.
All right, great. If you please approach. Sir, would you raise your right hand and be sworn, please?
You solemnly swear affirm the testimony you'll be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
How much credit does he have?
2 days.
All right, Mr. Shields, you were just sworn to tell the truth. Your attorney has handed me a plea form related to this case, and the plea that you will enter would be no contest in exchange for a credit time served sentence of 2 days, meaning you would spend no additional time in jail. Did you sign this plea form?
He's asking if you signed the plea form. You didn't sign the plea form?
Oh, that right there?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was.
You signed that?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you have the opportunity to read it before you did? Did you read the plea form before you signed it?
I didn't. I just went up. I heard time served and the get. That's all I heard was time served.
Judge, for the record, I did review the plea form with him. He did not read it, but I did advise him of his rights that he is giving up today by entering a plea.
Okay, thank you. You understand there won't be a trial by a jury in this case? Or a judge, for that matter? There won't be a trial?
So, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Are you under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication at this time?
Yes, sir.
Have you been diagnosed with a mental illness in the past? I'm sorry?
Yes, sir.
And are you taking any medication for that?
Yes, sir. It's difficult.
Okay. Is the fact that you're not taking any medication and have been diagnosed with a mental illness, is that causing you an inability to make good decisions?
In a way, it's like it make me go manic. So I'm trying to like manage it. I'm trying to manage it.
Okay,
Without the meds and stuff like that.
okay. Has anyone threatened you in order to get you to plea to this charge?
No, that ain't gonna never happen.
All right. You've been represented by the Office of the Public Defender. You're satisfied that you've received adequate legal services? All right. As to the sole charge in this case, trespass after a warning, how do you plead?
Guilty.
All right. I'll accept your plea, find that you're alert and intelligent, you understand the nature of the charge against you, and your plea is freely and voluntarily entered into. Court will adjudicate you guilty of count 1, trespass after a warning, and sentence you to 2 days in the Orange County Jail with credit for time served in the amount of 2 days. Are there court costs? All right, $273 in court costs, Public Defender. What's your request with respect to court costs?
Judge, if you could reduce it to a civil judgment.
I pay when
Even better, man. We got you.
All right. Court costs should be paid within 1 year of today's date. Mr. Shields, you've got the right to appeal the court's judgment and sentence. If you choose to do so, you must do it in writing within 30 days with the Orange County Clerk of Court. If you can't afford a lawyer to do that for you, one will be appointed. All right, that concludes your hearing. Thank you and good luck. Next case is Jorge Ortiz, 2021 CF 8691. Are we back to going in order?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Santa, you crosswalk.
Right.
I know, I hear you. I hear you.
Sir, could you state your name for me, please?
Jorge Armando Ortiz.
All right, sir. You are here today for a first appearance on 3 charges: resisting a law enforcement officer without violence, battery on a law enforcement officer, and resisting a law enforcement officer without violence. I'm sorry. Count 1 is with violence, count 3 is without violence. All right, you've got the right to remain silent. You've got the right to counsel. Would you like for me to appoint the public defender to represent you with respect to these charges?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I will appoint the public defender to represent you. Any argument as to probable cause, counsel?
No, Judge.
All right, I have reviewed the arrest affidavit and find there is probable cause for the offenses alleged. What says the defense with respect to bond?
Judge would be asking for low bonds to be set.
State wish to be heard?
We'll just leave the amount within your discretion, Your Honor.
All right. Court will set bond on count 1 in the amount of $1,000, count 2, the amount of $2,500, count 3, the amount of $500. Anything further on the case?
No, Judge.
All right, that concludes your hearing, Mr. Ortiz. Thank you. So just stay the bond. Good morning, or good afternoon, rather. Could you please state your full name for me?
Anthony Roberts.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roberts. So State, just bring me up to speed. I think Judge Dubois found there was no probable cause for certain of the offenses, or maybe all of them, I don't know.
Where we were at, Your Honor, was there was a mistake as to one of the charges. I believe it was the 7th charge. The officer had inputted possession of heroin, and that has now been corrected via a sworn supplement to cocaine, and that has been provided to defense.
And yes, Judge, we did receive it and we reviewed it this morning, and probable cause is sufficient on it.
I didn't see the sworn supplement. What did it say? Did it just change one word to another?
Right, it was just exchanging the word heroin for cocaine.
Okay. All right. Taking into account the supplement, court will find there's probable cause for the offenses alleged. Was the public defender appointed yesterday, I assume?
We were, Judge.
All right, then we found probable cause. What says the defense with respect to bond?
Judge, we'd be asking for a $500 bond on the possession of heroin.
I'm sorry?
We would be asking for a $500 bond.
On the,
I don't recall, did we address bond all the only?
Oh, did Judge Dubois set bond on the other counts for which PC was not an issue?
I thought he did, but I could be
he
mistaken.
haven't, no, he didn't, he just recalled everything. No comments on anything.
Okay. State wish to be heard as to bond.
Believe the amount within your discretion, Your Honor.
All right, court will set bond as to count one in the amount of $250, count two, $250, count three, $250, count four, $100, count five, $250, count six, $250, and count seven, $7,500. State wish to be heard as to any other issue in the case?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Defense, anything further?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, that concludes your hearing. Thank you, sir. All right, next case is State versus Ashrael Dennis, 2021 CF 8694.
Mental health, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
Mental health.
All right. Mr. Dennis has waived his appearance for today's purposes. We'll proceed. Has the public defender previously been appointed?
Judge, I'm not aware.
No, Your Honor.
All right. I'll appoint the public defender to represent Mr. Dennis. Mr. Dennis is here on charges of domestic battery violence by strangulation. And count two, DV battery. He is further on PTR for trespass in 2021 MM 4149. And there's no victim here for the case. Defense, what's your position with respect to bond?
Judge, on this case, I'm showing that he just has some trespass convictions. His history is rather minimal. We'd be asking for low bonds to be set, and then to take no action on his case that he's out on PTR on. And the alternative to set bond if Your Honor does revoke his PTR.
State wish to be heard?
State would request monetary bonds on all charges, Your Honor.
Court will set bond in the amount of count one in the amount of $1,500, count two, $250. Court will revoke the defendant's release on 2021 MM 4149 and set bond in this case at $250. I'm sorry, in that case, rather. Is that clear?
Yeah, it's just one time.
Yes.
It's one time for that case?
That's my
It's
understanding.
just one charge.
Yes. I'll also find probable cause as to the charges in this case. Defendant shall have no contact, directly or indirectly, with Kana Fouch, the alleged victim in this case. Any other conditions requested by the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Anything further from the defense?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Next case is State of Florida versus Mason McGee, 2021 CF 8711. Sir, could you please state your name for me?
Yes, sir. Mason McGee Jr.
All right, Mr. McGee, you were here for a first appearance on charges of domestic violence aggravated battery. Count one is domestic violence aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. Count two is domestic violence battery. Count three is tampering with a witness to hinder communication to law enforcement. You have the right to remain silent as well as the right to counsel. Counsel, would you like me to appoint the public defender to represent you?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. The public defender is appointed to represent you in the case. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit and find there is probable cause for the offenses alleged. I see no one in the witness box. Defense wish to be heard as to bond.
Yes, Judge, Mr. McGee does qualify for pretrial release. So we'd be asking him to be released on PTR.
Has PTR had any contact with the alleged victim?
We did make contact with the victim, Your Honor. They had planned to come, but then were not able to make it. They did say that they were in fear for their safety from the defendant.
Takesha McGee is not present. State, did you wish to be heard as to conditions of release?
The state would request monetary bonds on all counts and no contact, Your Honor.
Right. Court will set bond in the amount of $5,000 as to count one, $250 with respect to count two, and $100 with respect to count three. Mr. McGee will be supervised through pretrial release and ordered to have no contact with Takesha McGee, no return to 4690 Pleasant Valley Court. Defendant shall not possess weapons, firearms, or ammunition. Defendant shall not consume drugs, alcohol, or controlled substances without a prescription. I think he likely needs to, Mr. McGee, your questions, I'm only saying this because there's a prosecutor in the room, so anything you say can be held against you in further proceedings, but if you have a question, you can direct it to your lawyer, and then he can raise the issue with me. Yes.
Judge, Mr. McGee has indicated to me that the alleged victim no longer lives at that house, so he would like to return there.
Do you have any confirmation of that, PTR?
The address we have for them is the same, Your Honor. We did not hear anything from the victim stating they didn't reside there. So we have the same address for the victim and the defendant.
I think you'll just have to take that up with the judge that the case is assigned to, because I've got no way of resolving that factual dispute today. But setting that aside, does he need to return to the residence in order to get personal effects before that's all?
Yes, Judge.
That's all
We would ask
figured
for a
out?
one-time return.
All right, one-time return to 4690 Pleasant Valley Court in order to obtain Mr. McGee's personal effects. He'll be accompanied by law enforcement at that time. All right, anything further on the case defense?
No, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right, good afternoon. This is State versus Manuel Montalvo, 2021 CF 8712. Could you state your name for me, sir?
Manuel Montalvo.
All right, great. You are here for a first appearance on charges of domestic violence, battery by strangulation, robbery by sudden snatching, domestic violence battery, and criminal mischief. You have the right to remain silent, and you also have the right to counsel. I see you filled out an application here for appointment of the public defender. You are requesting appointment of the public defender, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you. I have reviewed the charging affidavit and find there is probable cause for each of the offenses alleged in the charging affidavit. Defense wish to be heard as to bond before I turn to the victim?
Yes, Judge, Mr. Montalvo does qualify for pretrial release. And
He does not. The charges don't qualify. That was an error.
Judge, just if the court would consider, he has no history whatsoever.
All right, ma'am. Could you please state your name for me?
Skylar Lenning.
So could you move a little bit closer to the microphone, please?
Yeah.
All right. Can you say your name one more time?
Skylar Lenning.
All right. All right, Ms. Lenning. You have an entitlement to be heard in this proceeding. What the court's determining is whether or not and on what terms to set a monetary bond for Mr. Montalvo. That also includes potentially non-monetary terms designed to protect the community, protect you as the alleged victim, so on and so forth. So you're entitled to be heard. That said, there's no pressure and you don't have to tell me anything if you don't want to. But if you do wish to be heard, what would you like me to know in determining bond?
I don't want to press charges, and I'm not hurt, and he is a good person. He has a drug addiction and mentally ill with bipolar and anger management, and I just want him to get help.
Do y'all reside together?
Yes,
How long have you resided together?
11 years.
Have there been any previous incidents of physical violence between you and Mr. Montalvo?
No,
Are you in fear for your safety if he returns back to your shared residence?
no.
State or defense have any questions of Ms. Lenning?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Defense? All right, court will set bond with respect to count one in the amount of $1,000, count two, $250, count three, $250, count four, $100. Court will further order Mr. Montalvo to have no hostile contact with Ms. Lenning. He will be directed not to consume drugs, alcohol, or medication while on pretrial release.
She said he don't qualify for the charge for pretrial release.
I don't mean it in the sense of pretrial release program.
Oh, okay.
All right, anything further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Defense?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right. That concludes your hearing. Thank you, sir. All right, the case is State of Florida versus Murphy, 2021 CF 8713. Sir, could you please state your name for me?
Christopher Murphy.
All right, Mr. Murphy, you're here for a first appearance on charges of robbery by sudden snatching, criminal mischief, and domestic violence battery. You've got the right to remain silent and the right to counsel. You've completed an affidavit of indigency indicating that you are requesting the public defender to represent you in this case, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you. I have reviewed the charging affidavit and will find that there's probable cause with respect to the offenses alleged in the charging affidavit. Defense wish to be heard as to bond.
Yes, Judge, would be asking to set low bonds on all three counts, given his minimal history.
The statement from the. They have the statement from the eyewitness saying that.
I get you. Something.
Give me a little, please.
And Judge, after speaking with my client, again, we would reiterate, we're asking for a low bond. He is currently homeless right now. And again, I'm showing that he has minimal criminal history.
I'm sorry?
I'm also, again, showing that he has minimal criminal history.
What address is 611 Business Park Boulevard?
Murphy's Hope. It's a homeless, not really a shelter, but it's more of a place where you go to eat and get clothing.
Can your client afford a monetary bond?
Judge, I don't think he can. I mean, we would ask to release him on PTR if he qualifies, or obviously ROR, if Your Honor would be willing to do that.
Charges would not qualify for PTR.
State, do you wish to be heard?
We'll leave the amount within your discretion, Your Honor.
You know what the location of the alleged offense is? 220 11th Street?
220 11th Street, that's my fiance's house. The reason why I was there was because Saturday night,
Is that Ms. Mickler's residence?
yes, sir.
All right, court will release Mr. Murphy on his own recognizance with respect to each of the charges. Court will order no contact with Amanda Mickler. Does Mr. Murphy have any personal effects at Ms. Mickler's home?
No.
Anything further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Defense?
No, Judge.
All right, thank you. That concludes your hearing, Mr. Murphy.
Your Honor, thank you.
All right, the next case is State of Florida versus Demetris Parrish. Case number 2021 CF 7518 and 2021 MM 5120. Could you please state your name, sir?
Demetris Parrish.
All right, Mr. Parrish, you are here on a warrant. You were arrested on a warrant for aggravated assault with a firearm and domestic battery. PC was already, or probable cause rather, was already determined by the issuing magistrate. You're also here on a misdemeanor case for violation of a domestic violence injunction. You've got the right to remain silent as well as the right to counsel. And I see you've completed an affidavit indicates that you are requesting that I appoint the public defender to represent you for the purposes of these cases, so I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. As I indicated, probable cause already been found in 2021 CF 7518. Court will further find probable cause with respect to 2021 MM 5120. Are there 3 cases, State, or 2?
He does have a third case, Your Honor.
Okay, what?
2021 CF 8697.
And what's the status of that case?
That's I believe, a new law offense, Your Honor.
All right,
He was just arrested on.
must have missed one of them. All right, and finally, 2021 CF 8697, charges of possession of ammunition by a convicted felon, possession of firearm by a convicted felon, possession of cannabis less than 20 grams, and possession of drug paraphernalia. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit in 8697 and will further find that there's probable cause with respect to the charges in that case. So all we need to do is set bond across the three cases. Defense wish to be heard?
Yes, Judge. We would be asking to set a reasonable bond. On the new case, we would be asking for 1,000 on the possession of ammo and possession of firearm by a convicted felon, and then 250 on counts 3 and 4.
State wish to be heard?
Leave the amount within your discretion, Your Honor.
All right, in
Who's saying to plead anything here today? Nobody said that today. Nobody said that here today.
with respect to 2021 CF 7518, court will set bond as to count 1 in the amount of $2,500, count 2, $250. Defendant will be prohibited from having any contact with the alleged victim in 7518, Ms. Casabon. Court will set bond in 2021 MM 5120 in the amount of $250. And in 2021 CF 8697, court will set bond in the amount of $1,000 with respect to count 1, $1,000 with respect to count 2, $250 with respect to count 3, and $100 with respect to count 4. Is there anything further from the defense?
Nothing, Judge.
All right, thank you. That concludes your hearing, sir. There was a PC finding as to each of the cases. Actually, PC's already been determined in the first one as to the other two.
Still need this explained to me. I don't.
Next case is State of Florida versus Edwin Soames, 2021 MM 5109. Could you please state your name? It is, I see that. All right, Mr. Soames waived his appearance for the purposes of this hearing. He is charged in 2021 MM 5109 with 1 count of domestic violence battery, 2021 CF 8698, count 1, burglary of a structure with an assault or battery therein. Court will appoint the public defender to represent Mr. Soames for the purposes of this hearing. Court will find PC with respect to the charges in each of the cases. Defense wish to be heard as to bond.
Judge, we would just note that Mr. Soames, from what I'm showing, has no history.
All right, sir. I assume you're the manager of Cinemark? No? Is he here for Soames? Oh, he is, okay. All right, you said lack of,
I just was pointing out to the court that I believe Mr. Soames has no criminal history whatsoever.
Your Honor, the state on my end, I have that he's a violent felony offender.
right, that's a pretty big distinction between the two.
He hasn't been fingerprinted yet or positively identified, so that's why that hold is still there.
Oh,
Be
because he
preliminary-
potentially could be if he turns out to be the right person, or?
Right, he hasn't been positively identified yet.
And Judge, I didn't mean to misrepresent that to the court. I was
I'm sure, I'm sure. But were you seeing a lack of criminal history?
Judge, yes, on the paperwork I have, it's literally showing 0 felony misdemeanor convictions, no FTAs.
So is that, so,
We run a preliminary history off of the demographics.
okay,
He hasn't been positively identified by fingerprints yet, but we just run a preliminary history based on his demographics. And based on that, he didn't have any history. But like I said, we haven't gotten a SID or an FBI number back or anything like
all
that.
right. State, have you had any contact with the victim, Ms. Mason?
We have not, Your Honor.
All right. Set bond in 2021 MM 5109 in the amount of $500. 2021 CF 8698 will set bond on count 1 in the amount of $1,000. Defendant will be directed not to contact directly or indirectly Antonia Mason and will not be permitted to return to the scene of the alleged offense. Anything further on the case?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, thank you. Can just throw this away. All right, next case is Yanisha Alvarez, State versus Alvarez, 2021 MM 5112.
Mr. You did say no contact with the victim, right?
Yes, Antonia Mason. Ma'am, could you state your name for me, please?
Yanisha Alvarez.
All right, thank you. You are here for what we call first appearance on a charge of domestic violence battery. You've got the right to remain silent, and you have the right to counsel. And I see you've completed an affidavit here indicating that you're seeking appointment of the public defender to represent you, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you. Have reviewed the arrest affidavit, find there's probable cause for the charge. Before I turn to the witness defense, did you wish to be heard?
Yes, Judge, Ms. Alvarez, from what I'm showing, does qualify for pretrial release.
She could, Your Honor. If you
All
wish
right,
her.
I assume you're Mr. Madera?
Yes, sir.
All right, could you raise your right hand and be sworn, please?
You solemnly swear affirm testimony you shall give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, sir. You're entitled to be heard with respect to whether or not the defendant should get a bond, and if so, on what conditions she should get a bond. What would you like me to know?
This is pretty much her first time. This has never ever happened in her scenario. We've never had this situation ever happen. I don't want to put no, how do you say? Anything. I would just like her to be released on bond, all that.
All right, do you and Ms. Alvarez still reside together?
Yes, sir.
All right, and you have at least one child in common, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And if she is granted release, do you have any fear for your safety if she returns to your shared residence?
No, sir. Not at all. I have no marks, no nothing.
I did not see you, so I don't want to be presumptuous, but are you in a wheelchair?
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you temporarily in a wheelchair because of something, or are you permanently disabled?
Yes, I was in a motor vehicle accident.
Okay.
Yes, she's actually my helper.
All right. Defense or state have any questions of the witness?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
All right. The defendant will be released on pretrial release through Orange County Corrections. Anything further in the case?
And the state requests no
condition?
hostile contact, Your Honor.
Yes, I'll further order no hostile contact. So,
And it does look like there's two victims, Your Honor. Did you want no hostile for both, or?
the second alleged victim being the child?
I have a Nicole Nunez Sanchez. Law enforcement put as a second victim.
I have, Your Honor. I believe Ms. Nunez Sanchez is a babysitter
Maybe.
and friend.
Yes, well, no hostile contact.
Or both.
The second victim as well. All right, thank you very much, ma'am. All right, the next case is State versus Maria Lee Avare, 2021 MM 317. Could you state your name for me, ma'am?
Maria Evar.
Avar?
Sir.
All right. You have been charged with a single count of battery by touching or striking. You've got the right to remain silent, and you have the right to counsel. I see your affidavit indicates that you qualify for appointment of the public defender, and I will appoint the public defender to represent you with respect to the case. Defense, any issues with probable cause on this case?
Not that I saw, Judge.
All right. Defense wish to be heard with respect to bond?
Yes, Judge. We're asking for a low bond of $500 to be set.
State any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, court will find probable cause for the charge and set bond in the amount of $500 and will further order no hostile contact with Michael Hunt.
Sure, of course.
Judge, if I could just address really quickly.
No contact. I'm sorry?
My client is just asking about pretrial release and whether she qualifies. Wasn't sure.
He
does
did
not.
not qualify.
Oh, I am on disability. I'm
Well, oftentimes that's by virtue of the charge or any criminal history, not financial wherewithal. All right, anything further on the case?
No, Judge.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
And Your Honor, did you say no contact or no hostile?
No contact. I wanted to make sure that was clear. Mr. Ramos, it was no contact, all right?
This was my home. He was just visiting.
Okay. All right, thank you.
He lives on the streets, so.
100 through bond.
Next case is State of Florida versus Wayne Chanot, 2021 MM 5106. Sir, could you state your name for me?
Wayne Chanot.
All right, sir. You are here on a charge of domestic violence battery, single charge. You've got the right to remain silent and the right to counsel. I see you have filed an affidavit indicating that you would like the public defender appointed to represent you, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you in this matter. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit, find there is probable cause for the offense alleged. Defense wish to be heard from, but, with respect to bond?
Yes, Judge, we'd be asking we'd be asking to have him released on pretrial release, Judge. He qualifies, from what I can see.
State, any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Court will place Mr. Chanot on pretrial release, and he'll be ordered to have no contact directly or indirectly with Ms. Mixon.
He lives in Titusville, I live in Orlando. That's it? Yep.
All right, the next case is State of Florida versus Marina Gugino, 2021 MM 5097. Could you state your name for me, ma'am?
Marina Gugino.
All right. You are here on a single charge of domestic violence battery. You've got the right to remain silent. You've got the right to appointment of counsel. I see here that you're requesting the public defender to represent you in this matter, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you. Reviewed the probable cause, or the arrest affidavit rather, and find probable cause for the offense alleged. Defense wish to be heard with respect to bond?
Yes, Judge, we'd just be asking for pretrial release as she does qualify.
So, State, on probable cause, explain to me what I'm missing. I'm looking at the arrest affidavit. All right, page 1 of 3. Now I'm looking at page 2, and I don't see any substantive allegations on page 2. And I thought there was a page missing, except it was paginated correctly, so I'm kind of at a loss.
I believe that there's a co-defendant, No U Manzor.
Yes.
There's a little more substance in that one, and I think this is a continuation from that.
Okay. Are you comfortable with the court's determination of probable cause being based both on that arrest affidavit and the arrest affidavit of the co-defendant?
We would ask for 24 hours, Your Honor, to reach out to the officer on this case.
Okay, 24 hours to file a supplemental arrest affidavit. The court's prior finding of probable cause is vacated. Yes. And with respect to bond, she qualifies for PTR. Can I put her on PTR now? If you're filing a supplement?
I'm not sure, Your Honor.
I mean, she would be released today, so
Right.
they wouldn't.
Okay, good.
Put her
Then she can
tomorrow.
just be arraigned.
Yeah, Judge, I just want to make sure she is released today.
Did she what?
I just want to make sure that she is released today.
All right. Court will put Ms. Gugino on pretrial release. She'll be ordered to have no hostile contact. Well, wait. So what's the relationship?
To the
Boyfriend, Judge.
So I'm going to have the opportunity to ask him this question, but I mean, do they intend to have contact with one another?
I would assume so, Judge. They have a flight back to New York tomorrow morning.
Okay. Yes.
I believe he is also here in custody.
What's that? No, that's all right. So the court will order no hostile contact with Mr. No. Who are the other witnesses? They are not victims, correct?
I don't believe so, Your Honor. I believe it's just the
All right.
two of them.
All right, then. Anything else?
And Your Honor, just, if you could just order that she is allowed to leave the state of Florida to return to New York. That way she doesn't have any problems.
All right. She will be permitted to leave the state to return to New York. You're still going to have an obligation to return to court for this case, otherwise a warrant will issue, but your attorney will give you details about that. All right, thank you, Mr. Gugino. Ms. Gugino, sorry.
So, Jim Town PC, you still giving the state 24
Yes.
hours?
Make sure you call your attorney.
Next case is State of Florida versus Hassan McLeod. 2021 MM 5107. Good afternoon. Could you state your name for me?
Taida Hassan McLeod.
All right. You are here on a single charge of domestic violence battery. You've got the right to remain silent. You've also got the right to counsel. I see here that you are requesting the public defender to represent you, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you with respect to this charge. I have reviewed the arrest affidavit and find probable cause for the offense, and will now take up bond. Does the defense wish to be heard before I turn to the witness?
Yes, Judge. Ms. Hassan does qualify for pretrial release, so would be asking for pretrial release.
All right. Sir, could you raise your right hand and be sworn?
You swear affirm the testimony shall give me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
State your name for the record.
Christopher McLeod.
All right, sir. You're entitled to be heard with respect to any bond or conditions of release imposed on Ms. Hassan McLeod. Are you her husband
Yes,
for more than 15 years?
yes.
All right. What do you want the court to know in determining bond?
I mean, she didn't hurt me at all. I just want her home. She's not a violent person at all. There's nothing bad happened. I guess I need more marriage counsel than the cops come and take her, you know.
All right. State or defense have any questions of the witness?
No, nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Or you don't fear for your personal safety if she returns to your shared residence?
No, sir, not at all.
All right. Then Ms. Hassan McLeod will be released on PTR. Anything further in the case?
Judge, just I want to make sure there's no hostile contact.
All right, no hostile contact either. The next case is State of Florida versus Genaria John, 2021 MM 5100. Good afternoon. Could you tell me your name, please?
Genaria Jean.
Jean. All right, Ms. Jean. You are here on a single charge of domestic violence battery. You've got the right to remain silent, and you've also got the right to appointment of counsel. I've reviewed your affidavit, indicates that you qualify for appointment of the public defender, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you. He's standing there to your left. Court will find probable cause for the offense alleged in the arrest affidavit. Defense wish to be heard as to bond before I turn to the witness.
Yes, Judge, would be asking for pretrial release.
Any objection from the state?
No objection, Your Honor.
Sir, could you raise your right hand and be sworn, please?
You solemnly swear affirm the testimony shall give me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Could you state your name?
Demetrius Davis.
I'm sorry?
Demetrius Davis.
All right, Mr. Davis, you share a child with Ms. Jean?
Yes.
You reside together?
Yes.
All right. What do you want me to know in determining bond and conditions of release?
She ain't no bad person. She ain't harm me neither. Like, she really ain't doing nothing really. She a good mother and stuff like that. And yeah, this the first time something like this ever happened. Like, she don't too much get rowdy like that.
All right. Do you have any fear for your personal safety if she returns to your shared residence?
No, I told the police is that.
Okay. All right. Then court will place Ms. Jean on pretrial release. She'll be ordered to have no hostile contact with Mr. Davis. Anything further in the case?
Nothing, Judge.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Next case is State of Florida versus Marlon Richardson, 2021 MM 5113. Afternoon, sir. Could you state your name for me?
Yes, my name is Marlon Leonard Richardson.
All right, Mr. Richardson. You're here for first appearance on a charge of domestic violence battery. You've got the right to remain silent as well as the right to appointment of counsel. I've reviewed your affidavit that indicates you qualify and are seeking appointment of the public defender, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you for this case. I reviewed the arrest affidavit and find there is probable cause for the offense that's alleged in it. Defense wish to be heard with respect to bond.
Yes, Judge, we'd be asking for pretrial release.
Does Mr. Richardson reside with Ms. Wiley?
I was, I'm gonna be honest, I was. It was just like a misunderstanding that night.
Well, don't tell me anything about the case. Actually, why don't, I'll just direct my question to you, Mr. Ramos. Can you confer with your client and let me know the situation with respect to Ms. Wiley?
They live together, Judge.
Has PTR heard from the victim, alleged victim?
We were not able to make contact with the victim, Your Honor.
Does Mr. Richardson have somewhere else to stay until we can get some input from the victim? In the absence of any evidence from the victim that she is not in fear for her safety or would permit him to return to their shared residence, I'm going to order no contact. So he has somewhere to go in the meantime?
Yes, sir.
All right. And obviously, that order is always subject to modification. So Mr. Richardson will be placed on pretrial release and ordered to have no contact with Ms. Sarita Wiley. Does he need to return to their shared residence in order to retrieve personal belongings?
He does, Judge. We'd ask for a one-time return.
Okay, one-time return accompanied by law enforcement to obtain personal belongings. Anything further on the case?
Pretrial release.
Next case is State of Florida versus Justin Rojas, 2021 MM5099. Good afternoon, sir. Could you state your name for me?
Yes, Justin Rojas.
All right, Mr. Rojas. You have been charged with a single count of domestic violence battery. You've got the right to remain silent. You also have the right to counsel. I see you completed an affidavit that indicates you qualify for appointment of the public defender and are seeking the public defender to represent you. So I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit and find there is probable cause for the charge. Defense wish to be heard as to bond before I request the input of whoever's in the witness box.
Yes, Judge, we're asking for pretrial release.
All right, are you Ms. Morales?
Yes, sir.
All right, could you raise your right hand and be sworn, please?
You swear affirm the testimony shall give me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Morales, what would you like the court to know in setting bond and conditions of the defendant's release?
I'm at no harm. He has not hurt me. I just want him to be home with me and my daughter. It's not the only time. I mean, this is the only time he's done this. I think he just needs to be put back on his medicine. He does have anger issues, and I think that does have something to relate to that. But we are at no harm. He does not hurt me or my daughter.
So you don't fear for your personal safety if he's to return to your house?
Yes.
You do not fear for it?
No.
Right, okay. Can PTR track medication?
I mean, you can order that he take his meds. I don't know if we have any way to track that.
All right.
You could order.
Mr. Rojas will be released on pretrial release. He'll be ordered to take any prescribed medication. Is there anything further in the case?
Nothing, Judge.
All right, thank you very much.
Anything with contact, Your Honor, like no hostile?
No hostile contact.
I'm sorry, I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is no hostile contact?
No hostile contact means that while Mr. I'm sorry.
Rojas.
Mr. Rojas can return to your shared residence, he can have contact with you, he can talk to you, he can speak to you, he can be in the same place as you, but he can't harm you in any way.
Right.
So to the extent that there's probable cause to believe that he's caused you some harm, then his pretrial release is subject to being revoked, which means he would be picked up again and held, okay?
Okay. And is there a
That's
bond?
intended to protect you.
Is that a bond? Is there any bond?
Is there any what?
A bond?
No,
So there's no bond.
there's no bond.
Okay. Thank you.
You don't have to pay a bond in order to get his release.
I'm sorry?
You don't have to post a bond in order to obtain his release.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I didn't know that.
All right, the next case is State versus No Umenzor, 2021 MM5122. Could you state your name for me?
David Mansor.
All right, sir. You are here for what we call a first appearance for a charge of DV battery and count 2, resisting an officer without violence. You've got the right to remain silent. You also have the right to counsel, and I see that you've completed an affidavit indicating that you qualify for appointment of the public defender to represent you, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you in the matter. Court will find probable cause with respect to each of the alleged violations. And I believe the disposition with respect to Ms. Gugino was PTR, no hostile contact, and they're permitted to return together to New York.
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
Correct, Your Honor.
Right, then the defendant will be placed on pretrial release. He's to have no hostile contact with Ms. Gugino, and he is permitted to travel back to New York. Obviously, Mr. Umenzor, you still have court dates in this case, so you'll be required to attend those court dates going forward, all right?
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, the next case is State of Florida versus Stephen Canlon, 2021 CF 8703. Sir, could you state your name for me?
Stephen Canlon, Your Honor.
All right, sir. You are here for a first appearance on a charge of possession of cocaine. You've got the right to remain silent as well as the right to counsel. I see that you've completed an affidavit here indicating that you're requesting the public defender to be appointed to represent you in the case, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit, find there is probable cause for the charge. But I am seeing, there's a warrant out of Pike County, Illinois?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there another case in Florida?
I wasn't seeing one.
Not that I see, Your Honor.
All right, thank
This
you.
says a fugitive warrant, looks like from Mississippi.
All right, I'll set bond in the Florida case at $500. Obviously, I'll take no action with respect to the warrant out of Pike County. Extradition? Yeah. So, defense, unless you wanted to be heard, I mean, I think he'll be held without bond pending extradition.
Understood, Judge.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Conlon.
What's up, man?
Next case is State of Florida versus Dakota Chavez, 2021 CF 8701. And He also has another case, 2020 CF 9729. Mr. Chavez, could you state your name for me?
Yes, sir. Dakota Chavez.
All right, sir. You were here for a first appearance in 2021 CF 8701 for a single charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. You have another pending case, 2020 CF 9729, that you were on pretrial release for. I shouldn't say pretrial release. You were on bond.
On bond.
Count 1, possession of a firearm. Count 2, carrying a concealed firearm. And count 3, possession of ammunition by a convicted felon. Does not appear that you qualify for appointment of the public defender to represent you. Is everything in this affidavit true?
No, sir, it is not. It's basically 4 lies in that affidavit. One saying that I ran up on her with the knife.
No, that's not at all what I'm talking about, and I'm going to remind you, you've got the right to remain silent. You've got, because there's a prosecutor sitting over here, and anything you say in this courtroom can be used against you in subsequent proceedings. What I'm talking about is an affidavit that you did talking about your financial circumstances. And it said and it says that you take home $900 every week. Is that true?
Every 2 weeks.
All right, so that's every 2 weeks.
Every weeks.
All right. So based on that clarification, which is noted on the record, you do qualify for appointment of the public defender, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you.
Okay.
And in 2021 CF 8701, I'll find probable cause for that charge. Defense wish to be heard with respect to bond.
Yes, Judge, we would be asking to set the bond on this charge at 500. I'm not seeing, at least from my paperwork, much history whatsoever, and we'd be asking to take no action on the case that he's on. I don't recall if he said he's out on PTR or out on bond, but we would ask you to take no action on that case.
State?
We'll leave it within your discretion, Your Honor. Well, the state actually would ask that for the other case that a new bond be issued.
I'm sorry?
For the case he's already out on,
Yes.
if we could issue a new bond in a higher amount for that case.
All right, with respect to, well, wait 1 second. Let's see here.
And Judge, I'm so sorry. Who is that? This got a call return on the case now. Let's see.
29th of this month. Yeah.
And Judge, Mr. Chavez has indicated to me that the case that he's actually out on, he is set for a plea in Division 12 on July 29th.
It's set for a plea on July 29th?
Yes, sir.
There's pretrial conference on July 29.
My lawyer told me that's my plea day.
And for the record, he is represented by Leslie Sweet on that case, so.
Your Honor, I have the PTC on July 29th, but also motion to suppress hearing scheduled in August on my end, so it doesn't seem like it's resolving right now.
All right. Who is the alleged victim with respect to Mr. Chavez?
Say that again, sir. I'm sorry.
Never mind. I found it myself. All right, as to 2021 CF 8701, court will set bond in the amount of $1,000 as to that charge. As to 2020 CF 9729, the court will revoke bonds in that case and set new bonds in the amount of $2,500 as to count 1, $250 as to count 2, and $250 with respect.
Your Honor, they only filed on 2 counts. So you'll
Which ones?
The possession of firearm, a person found to be committed a delinquent act and carrying a concealed firearm. They took no action on the possessing ammo by a convicted delinquent. Only have to set the new bond on 2 of them, on 2 counts.
All right, the charges are possession of a firearm. Did they file on that charge?
Yes,
Okay,
and carrying a concealed firearm.
but not possession of ammunition by a convicted delinquent?
That's correct, they took no action.
All right, bonds set as to counts 1 and 2, 2,500 and 250. In 2021 CF 8701, the defendant will be ordered to have no contact with Yolna Lubrin.
Yes, sir.
Anything further on the case?
No, Judge.
All right, thank you. Next case is State of Florida versus Marvin Hart, 2021 CF 8687. Sir, could you state your name for me?
Yes, Marvin Jerome Hart.
All right, Mr. Hart, you were here for a first appearance on a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and count 2 battery. You've got the right to remain silent. You also have the right to appointment of counsel. And I see here from your affidavit that you qualify for appointment of the public defender, and I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. I have reviewed the arrest affidavit and find there is probable cause for each of the charges alleged in the charging affidavit. Defense wish to be heard with respect to bond.
Judge, we're going to be asking for a $1,000 bond on count 1 and $500 on count 2.
If released, where does the defendant intend to reside?
4231 Raleigh Streets.
All right. Any input from the state?
We'll leave it within your discretion, Your Honor.
All right, court will set bond with respect to count 1 in the amount of $1,000, count 2, $500. Additionally, the defendant is directed to have no contact directly or indirectly with Richard Scott, Cheryl Myers, or Joe Ross, and no return to the alleged scene of the offense. Thank you. Next case is State versus Huey, 2021 CF 8702. Sir, could you state your name for me?
Nicholas Huey.
All right, Mr. Huey, you're here for a first appearance on a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. You've got the right to remain silent. You also have the right to appointment of counsel. And I do see here that you're seeking appointment of the public defender and do qualify, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit and find that there is probable cause for the offense alleged. Defense wish to be heard as to bond.
Yes, Judge, would be asking for pretrial release.
I'm sorry?
We'd be asking for pretrial release.
Were there any other charges involving acts of violence, PTR?
In their history, they do have a violation of an injunction of repeat violence, a battery conviction, and multiple battery or assault-related arrests.
State wish to be heard?
The state would request a monetary bond, Your Honor.
Court will set bond as to count 1 in the amount of $2,500 and order no contact with the victims, directly or indirectly, and no return to the scene of the alleged offense. Anything further on the case?
No, Judge.
Thank you.
And that was with PTR, Your Honor, correct?
That was not.
No, no PTR, okay.
All right, the next case is State of Florida versus Barry Kinsey.
Yes, sir.
2021 CF 8696. And there's another case, 2021 CF 1841. Sir, could you state your name for me?
Barry Kinsey.
All right, you're here on in the new case on a charge of possession of cocaine and count 2, possession of drug paraphernalia. I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. Find probable cause with respect to the charges. Defense wish to be heard as to bond.
Yes, Judge, we'd be asking for a bond of 500 on count 1 and 500 on count 2.
State, any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Court will set bond, find probable cause, set bond in the amount of $500 as to count 1 and $500 as to count 2. Is state requesting revocation in the 2021 CF 1841 case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, did you wish to be heard as to that issue?
Yes, Judge, we would ask that you take no action on that case. In the alternative, if the court does take action, we'd ask to set a bond.
Court will revoke the defendant's release in 2021 CF 1841 and set new bonds in the amount of set bonds rather, in the amount of $500 on count 1 and $100 as to count 2. Yep. Next case is State of Florida versus Sergio Moreno, 2021 CF 8695. Sir, could you state your name for me?
Sergio Vicente Moreno Jr.
All right, sir. You are here for a first appearance on charges of criminal mischief, resisting an officer without violence, and battery on a law enforcement officer. You've got the right to remain silent, and you also have the right to appointment of counsel. And I see here that you are seeking appointment of the public defender to represent you, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit and find there's probable cause to charge you with these offenses. Defense wish to be heard as to bond.
Yes, Judge, we'd be asking for a $100 bond on count 1 and 2, and then a $500 bond on count 3.
State, any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Court will set bond in the amount of $100 as to count 2, $100 as to count 1, and $500 as to count 3. Did you get that? I gave it in weird order. Count 1, 100. Count 2 is 100. And count 3 is 500.
Which one?
All right, the next case is State versus Jeremiah No, 2021 CF 2371. and 2021 CF 2675. All right, Mr. Nose waived his appearance at first appearance. Court will appoint the public defender to represent Mr. No. For the purposes of this hearing. Arrested on charges of failure to appear, fleeing, on charges of fleeing or attempting to elude law enforcement, and a failure to appear arising out of a driving with a suspended license. His arrest also violates the terms of his release in 2021 CF 2371. State wish to be heard?
We'll leave it in your discretion, Your Honor.
Court will set bond in the amount of $1,000 as to count 1 in this case, $250 as to count 2 in this case. I will revoke his release in 2021 CF 2371 and set bond in that case at $5,000. Next case is okay. Next case is State of Florida versus Will Ramon Ramos Santiago. And Mr. Santiago, can you state your name for me?
This
It's
is
not
Mr.
Santiago?
Santiago, Your Honor. They bonded.
All right. All right, next case is State of Florida versus Rayshawn Richardson. That's 2021 CF 8699. And then two other cases, 2021 CF 4703 and 2021 CF 243. All right, sir, you are here for a first appearance on 3 charges. In this case, possession of cocaine, possession of methamphetamine, and possession of drug paraphernalia. You also have the 2 other cases, possession of cocaine, possession of paraphernalia, resisting an officer without violence, and possession of cocaine. And in those cases, you were on bond or some other form of release. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit in this case and find that there is probable cause with respect to counts 1, 2, and 3 in this case. You've got the right to appointment of counsel. Would you like for me to appoint the public defender to represent you?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. Defense wish to be heard as to bond.
Yes, Judge, we would ask for a $500 bond on all counts.
State wish to be heard as the other cases?
We would ask that you revoke the bonds on the other 2 cases, Your Honor.
All right, in this case, court will set bond in the amount of $1,000 as to count 1, count 2, $250, count 3, $250. Court will revoke Mr. Richardson's release in 2021 CF 4703. Set bond and count, with respect to count 1 in the amount of $1,000, count 2, $250, and count 3, $500. Court will further revoke release in 2021 CF 243 and set bond on the sole charge in that case in the amount of $1,000.
They actually filed on 3 counts, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
They actually filed on 3 counts.
What are counts 2 and 3?
It's possession of drug paraphernalia and resisting without.
All right. Count 2, $250. Count 3, $500. 1,000. Anything else in this case?
No, Judge.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Richardson. The next case is State of Florida versus Stacy Wilson, 2021 CF 8705. Would you please state your name for me, ma'am?
Stacy Wilson.
All right, Ms. Wilson, you are here for a first appearance on a sole charge of aggravated battery with a weapon. You've got the right to remain silent, and you also have the right to appointment of counsel. I see here that you're seeking appointment of the public defender, and you qualify, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you for today's purposes. Reviewed the arrest affidavit, find there is probable cause for the offense alleged. What says the defense with respect to bond?
Judge, I'm showing that she only has, I think, one misdemeanor conviction. She doesn't qualify for pretrial release. We would ask for an ROR. In the alternative, $1,000 bond.
Who is Christopher Carroll with respect to the defendant?
Judge, he's an acquaintance. He's a friend of a friend.
Court will set bond with respect to count one, find probable cause for that charge if I didn't already. Set bond in the amount of $1,000. Order that the defendant shall have no contact with the victim, Chris Carroll. Anything further on that case?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, thank you. Next case is State versus Ahmad Muhammad, 2021 CT 5253. Sir, could you state your name for me?
Ahmad Muhammad.
All right, Mr. Muhammad. You are here on a single charge of driving under the influence. You've got the right to remain silent. You also have the right to counsel. I see here. Does he qualify?
Judge, I don't see that Mr. Muhammad qualifies for pretrial release. However, he is showing a lack of criminal history. So we would ask for an ROR, in the alternative, a $500 bond.
I'll appoint the public defender to represent Mr. Muhammad, find probable cause for the charge. State, any objection?
Your Honor, we would request a monetary bond. He does have a number of out-of-state convictions and arrests.
Set bond on count one in the amount of $1,500. Anything further on the case?
Nothing, Judge.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Next case is State versus Ulysses Cruz Manduhanu, 2021 MM316. There are related cases, 2020 CF 1568 and 2020 MM584. Mr. Manduhanu, you are here on a single charge of trespass. You have the right to remain silent. You also have the right to counsel. Court will appoint the public defender to represent you in this case. Are you requesting the court to appoint the public defender?
Can you repeat that again? I didn't understand.
Are you requesting that I appoint the public defender to represent you in this case?
Yeah, why not?
I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah, well, he's my representative right now, right?
Okay, court will appoint the public defender to represent you. Any recommendation with respect to bond?
Judge, we would just ask that you set a low bond. Mr. Cruz has been previously found incompetent to proceed on the case that he's out on.
State, any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Court will release Mr. Mendojano on his own cognizance with respect to 2021 MM 316 and take no action in the other two cases.
Yes, ma'am.
Next case is State versus Aida Lacayo.
Your Honor.
2021 MM 5101. Ms. Lacayo is charged with trespass after a warning. Court will find probable cause for the charge and ROR the defendant with respect to that case and take no action in the other 10 cases she has pending. And no return to the scene of the offense. Yes. Are you caught up?
Yeah.
Okay. Next case is State versus Shantia Warren, 2021 MM 5104. Could you state your name for me?
Shantia Warren.
All right, Ms. Warren, you are here on a sole charge of trespass after a warning. You've got the right to remain silent as well as the right to counsel. Court will appoint the public defender to represent you based on the affidavit that you've provided. I'll find probable cause for the violation. Defense wish to be heard with respect to bond.
Judge, I have actually previously spoken with Ms. Warren and conveyed the state's offer. It's an adjudication, court costs, and a no return. She would like to accept that offer, and I have a signed plea form.
How much credit does Ms. Warren have? Wait, did we call this previously? Did we call this previously? All right, do you have a plea form? Thank you. All right, Ms. Warren, could you please raise your right hand and be sworn? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right. You are charged with trespass after a warning in this case, and the state has offered to resolve your case by your pleading no contest and being adjudicated guilty to that charge with a sentence of 2 days when you've already served 2 days. Is it your intent to accept that offer?
Yes.
All right. Did you sign this plea form that's
No.
in my hand? It looks like you did. Do you want to look at it again?
Yeah, I also didn't sign that trespassing paper that you guys have as well.
Okay, well, don't talk about that. What I'm talking about right now is whether or not you signed this plea agreement, the effect of which is you pleading to 2 days in the Orange County Jail as to this charge, okay? So there would be no trial on the underlying trespass case. If you think you've got a defense to that case, then maybe you need to talk that over with your lawyer. But what I'm talking about right now is whether or not you intend to resolve that case short of a trial. Do you want to talk with your lawyer real quickly?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and talk with her, counsel.
Judge, at this point, I have concerns for Ms. Warren's competency, so I don't think we should go forward with this.
Okay, let me return this to you. What was your request with respect to bond? Were you seeking monetary bond?
No.
Judge, we would ask to ROR her.
State, any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Court will release Ms. Warren on her own recognizance in this case. All right, the next case is 2021 MM 5096, Dakota Weir. All right, Mr. Weir, could you state your name for me?
Spell it.
Could you state it for me?
Dakota Weir.
Okay, Mr. Weir, you're here on a single charge of resisting an officer without violence. You've got the right to remain silent. You also have the right to appointment of counsel. And I see here that you're seeking appointment of the public defender to represent you. So I will appoint the public defender to represent you for the purposes of this case. Does Mr. Weir intend to resolve his case?
He does, Judge. It's an adjudication and court costs.
How much time does Mr. Weir have?
2 days, yes.
2. Please. All right, Mr. Weir, your attorney has handed me a document we call a plea form. It looks to have a signature on it. Did you sign the plea form?
Yes.
Did you have the opportunity to read it before you did so?
Yes.
All right, did you have the opportunity to ask any questions you might have had of your lawyer?
Yes.
Are you under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication at this time?
No, sir.
Have you been diagnosed with a mental illness in the past?
No, sir.
Okay. Has anyone forced you or threatened you to get you to enter this plea?
No, sir.
You understand that if you're not a United States citizen, the entry of this plea subjects you to being deported?
Yes, sir.
All right. You have been represented by the Office of the Public Defender. Are you satisfied with the legal advice you've received?
Yes, sir.
All right. To the sole charge in this case, resisting an officer without violence, how do you plead?
No contest.
I'll accept your plea, find that you're alert and intelligent, you understand the nature of the charge against you, and you've been represented by, your plea is freely and voluntarily entered into, and you've been represented by competent counsel who you've told me you're satisfied with. Court will adjudicate you guilty of resisting an officer without violence and impose a sentence in the Orange County Jail of 2 days with credit for time served in the amount of 2 days, along with court costs as follows. $273. The court cost will need to be paid in full within 1 year of today's date. Anything further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Defense?
No, Judge.
All right, that concludes your hearing, sir. Thank you. All right, the next case is State of Florida versus Alaric Dennis, or McFarland, Alaric McFarland, case number, it's an Osceola case. All right, 2020 CF 1409. Mr. McFarland, you've been arrested on a warrant out of Osceola County on an underlying violation of probation where the charge is grand theft of a motor vehicle. That warrant has been issued by an Osceola County judge, so you'll be held without bond for extradition to Osceola County for further proceedings there. So the court that issued that warrant will determine whether or not you're entitled to a bond on the violation of probation. All right?
Sir.
All right, next case is State versus Kiara Soto. All right, Ms. Soto, is that your name?
Sir.
All right, Ms. Soto, you're here on an out-of-county warrant from Marion County, where the underlying charge is driving without a valid driver's license. The judge who issued that warrant in that case has issued it on a no-bond status, so you'll be held and transported to Marion County, where you'll have your next court date there in Marion County before the judge that issued the warrant, all right? All right, thank you very much. Next case is State of Florida versus Paul Clark, 2021 MO 837. I'm sorry? All right, Mr. Clark has waived his appearance here on a single charge of open container. Court finds probable cause for the offense, appoints the public defender to represent Mr. Clark. Any recommendation as to bond for Mr. Clark?
Judge, given the nature of this charge being an open container, we would ask for an ROR.
State?
No objection, Your Honor.
Court will release Mr. Clark on his own recognizance. Next case is State versus John Callan, 21 MO 838. Sir, can you state your name, please?
John Kalen.
All right, Mr. Kalin, you are here on a single charge of disorderly conduct. You've got the right to remain silent as well as the right to counsel. See here, you're seeking appointment of the public defender to represent you, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you. Find probable cause for violation of the municipal ordinance. Defense, what with respect to bond?
Judge, Mr. Callen would like to resolve his case today. The state did extend an offer, and I have spoken with him previously. It's an adjudication and court costs.
All right, 2 days?
Yes.
All right, if you'd approach, please.
And Judge, I also just noticed that he's out on also a disorderly. I just spoke to the state to see if we could just resolve both at the same time.
No objection, Your Honor.
Add that case number on this plea form.
Okay. No. Do you have the second case number on there? Yes, great, thank you.
I can provide it to Your Honor.
All right, sir, if you'd raise your right hand and be sworn, please.
So I won't.
It's 2021 MO 754. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Your attorney has handed me what we call a plea form. It looks to have your signature on it. Did you in fact sign the plea form that I'm holding?
Yes.
Did you have the opportunity to read it before you did so?
Yes.
Right, you understand you're giving up your constitutional right to a trial by a jury by entering this plea?
Yes.
Are you under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication at this time?
No.
Have you been diagnosed in the past with a mental illness?
No.
Right, has anyone forced you, threatened you, or coerced you to get you to enter this plea?
No.
Do you understand that if you're not a United States citizen, the entry of this plea subjects you to being deported?
Yes.
All right, and you've been represented by the Office of the Public Defender. Are you satisfied with the legal services you've received?
Yes.
To the charge of disorderly conduct in 2021 MO 838, how do you plead to that charge?
No contest.
As do the single charge of disorderly conduct in 2021 MO 754, how do you plead to that charge?
No contest.
All right, I'll accept your plea, find that you're alert and intelligent, you understand the nature of the charges against you. Your plea is freely and voluntarily entered into, and you've been represented by competent counsel, who you've told me you're satisfied with. Court will adjudicate you as charged in each of those cases, sentence you to 2 days in the Orange County Jail, with credit for time served in the amount of 2 days, with those sentences to run concurrent.
On the one that he's got pinned, it's a notice to appear, and you don't have any days on that, so.
He doesn't have any
He didn't
credit.
come in on a notice to
It was
appear.
a notice to appear.
Oh,
He didn't come in, right? He got a arraignment set for the 29th. So the judge had to remand him and give him a day. I don't know. That's the only way, because he's not in here on that.
Right.
you're saying we could just remand him on that case?
I don't know, it's up to you guys, but he's not here on that case. So,
In order to resolve it, there has to be a sentence above and beyond time served at this point.
Understood, Judge.
but he do have a hearing. What's the 29th? Judge Dubois.
Thank you for catching that.
Your Honor, it's probably best not to resolve that one today. It may be a city case too, so.
Okay,
No, that's fine, Judge.
all right.
You're just going to take no action on it, Your Judge?
No action on 2021 MO 754, and I'm scratching that out of the plea form.
Just got to
All right, thank you, sir. Oh, court costs as well, 1 year. Could you state your name, sir?
Emmanuel Bartholomew Strickland.
All right, that's case 2021 MO 840, State versus Strickland. Sir, you are here on a single charge of open container. You've got the right to remain silent. You also have the right to appointment of counsel, and I see here that you are seeking appointment of the public defender to represent you, so I'll appoint the public defender. Find probable cause with respect to the charge in the arrest affidavit.
And Judge, this is going to be resolved also.
All right,
It's an adjudication in court cause.
please approach. Thank you. All right, Mr. Strickland, can you raise your right hand and be sworn, please? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
All right. Your attorney has handed me a plea form. Does he have 2 days jail credit?
Yes.
Your attorney has handed me a plea form. It looks to have a signature on it. Did you sign it?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you read it first?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. You understand that you're giving up your constitutional right to a trial by a jury by entering a plea today?
I'm aware of this.
All right. Have you been diagnosed with a mental illness in the past?
No, sir.
Are you under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication at this time?
No.
Do you understand that if you're not a United States citizen, the entry of this plea subjects you to being deported?
Yes, sir.
Has anyone forced you or threatened you in order to get you to enter this plea?
No.
You've been represented by the Office of the Public Defender. Are you you can put your hand down, sir. You've been represented by the Office of the Public Defender. Are you satisfied with the legal services that you've received?
Yes, I am satisfied.
All right. With respect to the sole charge open container, how do you plead?
No contest.
All right, I'll accept your plea, find that you're alert and intelligent, you understand the nature of the charges against you, and your plea is freely and voluntarily entered into, and you've been represented by competent counsel who you've told me you're satisfied with. Court will adjudicate you guilty of count 1, open container, sentence you to 2 days in the Orange County Jail with credit for time served in the amount of 2 days, and court costs in the amount of $273, which must be paid within 1 year of today's date.
I'm sorry, Judge, it's 223.
223?
Yes.
223.
Yes, only 20.
All right, anything else from the defense?
Nothing, Judge.
State?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. He bonded, I bet. 2021 MO 839, did he bond?
Did Chad,
Chad Riley?
did Chad Riley bond?
Do you have a booking number for them?
Is it
210-17427.
Yeah, they bonded.
All